Hi, welcome to my home. I am Terry Schweitzer, and this is my culture test. Um, so I'm really nervous about speaking on camera. I don't do it often at all, so forgive me for reading from a script, if you will. Um, so here we go. So the most prominent feature here on the outside, you'll see, is this X. This represents my generation. Got some gray up here. Identify strongly with some of the stereotypes of the first generation of latchkey kids. I was a latchkey kid. Um, so we are typically fiercely independent. Um, we are most likely to take on DIY projects before we have someone else do it. As you can see, I have a bit of an unfinished project behind me. It's okay, I'll get to it. Um, and we're also capable of adapting to new technologies. And quickly. And as you can see, this is the symbol for my Oculus. This is actually the box that my VR headset came in. So we adapt to new technologies, but we're not beholden to them. And so I identify very strongly with all of those stereotypes from Gen Xer. What you don't see in here is my little hammer, DIY, represent my independence, is that my need for independence actually developed as a defense mechanism. Coming out of an abusive home and a very dysfunctional family, the more I did for myself, the less attention I brought to myself. So there's that. So my core identity has also been influenced very strongly by my family. This is my family. These are my children. I have 4 children and my husband. Um, so for 20 years, I've identified as a wife and a mother. For 11 of those years, I was a homeschool mom. And what you might assume by looking at this picture is that we were a white picket fence kind of family in a whitewashed community. Um, but what you don't see is that we'd actually lived in a very diverse community. Um, when we lived in Texas, and it was the best neighborhood. We had the best neighbors, and they became like family. And these are my sister friends. We call them my yayas. They are aunties to my children, and they're just the women that have helped shape me into um, the type of woman that I've become. Um, so here on the outside, we have some decorations just with some affirmations and positive vibes. So my love language is acts of service. Um, these decorations represent hospitality. I worked in restaurants and as in event management off and on for about 30 years. And even while I was making a home for my family, I am a bit of a Martha by nature, and I always want to make sure everyone feels welcome. Um, a bit of a Martha Stewart. I do a little bit of everything. I really like to work with my hands. I'm that supporter, trying to boost everyone's spirits and support everyone else's dreams. What you don't see, here's my little sewing machine. What you don't see is that I'm a people pleaser because my role in my family as a child was the peacekeeper. Um, the less the more behaved and more pleasant I was, the less I was in the line of fire. So I got good grades, I was involved in activities, and I made things with my hands to create welcoming atmosphere and also to distract me from my home environment. Um, Pretty and pleasant was protection growing up for me. So that all kind of stuck with me a little bit. Okay, so this is my badge for my work. And this is a representation of accomplishments in the way of my experience in education. I have worked here in a community health center for 1 year, and I've advanced my position, my responsibility, and my earnings in that year. And it's framed in um, the colors of my education, right? So this is actually orange. I don't know if it shows up right, but orange and black for OSU, where I got my undergraduate degree, and then purple and gold for LSU. Um, so accomplishments are a really big part of my core identity. And what you don't see is the time and hard work that went into all of that. I paid my way through my undergraduate degree. So it took me 9 years to get through because I didn't take out any loans. And then um, my family is making big sacrifices for me to return to graduate school now. So core identity, working hard, and those accomplishments are the result of hard work. So here on the top of the box, I have a starry sky. This represents class for me. We were fortunate enough to purchase a home in rural Alaska just before the pandemic hit. And this is actually because we live way far out. Um, we can actually see the aurora. So this was supposed to look like the aurora borealis, but our sky does frequently look like this. We commute into town for work and for school, and I don't know if you've noticed, but the price of gas has gone up a little bit, just a little bit recently. So, coupled with the already high cost of living here, being middle class is a little more challenging here than it was in the lower 48. Um, those dollars don't go as far as they used to. What you don't see um, is that we scrimped and saved for 20 years to realize this dream. And these are house keys and keys to a car, both of which we own our own. Um, we really lived within our means, shopped secondhand stores, and made a lot of sacrifices on the way. We buy used and fix what we can ourselves. We don't take vacations, and our big workhorse of a Yukon was actually a hand-me-down from a distant cousin of mine. So that is it. But I just wanted to say that this was a surprisingly difficult assignment for me. It was tough to nail down the cultures that I identify with. But in the end, it was actually pretty self affirming. And thank you for joining me.